Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you here for our fourth week of the 2023 Tuba Bach Music Festival. Whether you're here at Emmanuel Lutheran Church with us or watching on YouTube or Facebook or listening on Sunny 97.3, wherever you may be, we're glad to have you join us. So want to thank a couple of people before we get going with the rest of the concert. Our platinum sponsors, the John Stites Jazz Foundation in particular, took care of our first concert of the season, but we have them on for the whole festival. The Michigan Arts and Culture Council, along with the National Endowment for the Arts, takes very good care of us. The Marlis Myron and Tanya Nelson Foundation, or Memorial Fund, we want to talk about that a little bit later in the show, but we appreciate their support. The College of Music at Michigan State University, we very much appreciate. Ferris State University, and all that they've done for all the years, 18 years now of Tuba Bach, and Ferris has been on all of those, so we appreciate that very much. Want to thank Emmanuel Lutheran Church for this wonderful space that we get to play in for all of our concerts. So those are the thank yous for now. There'll be a lot more later. That first piece, the Autumn Fanfare, September Fanfare, was written by Gail Robertson over here. So on Euphonium in the Quartet, Gail Robertson. And she's up here from Arkansas, teaches at the University of Central Arkansas, from the Crane School of Music in Potsdam, New York. This is Charles Guy. And over the years, Charles and Gail and myself all studied at Michigan State University. We all did our doctorates there under the guidance of Philip Sinder. So we have, for reasons, obvious reasons of COVID and whatnot, we have not been able to play together since the 2019 festival. So 4 years later, we are super happy that we all got to be back together and hang out for the week and put some music together for today's concert. So we're going to jump right into that. It being a Tuba Bach music festival, it seems like we should do some Bach stuff on tubas every now and then, and so this year we are. And thematically, kind of grouped these first three pieces all together. The idea of a prelude and fugue. So certainly there were people writing and grouping together preludes and fugues together before Bach did, and of course there are after then, but I don't think anybody did nearly as many as he did, and in as many different ways. He was certainly the master of it, and the model that everybody since then looks back to for how to do it. The idea of a fugue, or counterpoint, imitative counterpoint, is essentially, so we're going to be playing on all three of these pieces, 4-part fugues, and so what you'll hear, one of us will play a melody, and then somebody else comes in a little bit later with the same melody. Well, the first person is doing something different, and then the third person comes in a little bit later with the same melody, and then the fourth person comes in later with the same melody, and it all just stacks up on top of each other, and it's all layered. So that's in the really simplistic terms what a fugue is. So we're going to have three different kind of examples of how that can work. And putting a prelude before it is just in these three cases, a nice slow piece, more of a meditative sort of a thing in front of it. And I had something I was going to say about all that was really brilliant. It has left my mind, and whatever brilliance I have left, I need to save for the actual playing of them. So these are three preludes and fugues. I know what I was going to say. So besides Bach, the second one was written by Ron Newman. Ron used to be on the faculty at Michigan State University. He is happily retired now. But way back in the 2008 season of Tuba Bach, we commissioned Ron to write a piece just for the Tuba Bach Quartet. So we're happy to play that again all these years later. And then the third piece, the Dinosaur Prelude and Fugue, is written by Chapel Kingsland, a young man who is out in Colorado now. He's an organist by trade and also a very prolific composer. And so even though it's pretty complicated, it might be the most complicated of the three that we're doing, his intent when he wrote it was also as an educational piece and to try to make it accessible for kids to listen to and listen to the big dinosaur sounds and the little dinosaur sounds and all the dinosaurs that are tromping around during the fugue especially. The prelude we like to play, it's not so much melodic as it is sounds kind of blossoming out of each other and weaving and coming together. So hope that you enjoy all three of these preludes and fugues.
convenient the microphone is my height. They're being nice today. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. The weather is a lot nicer here than it was in Arkansas when I left, so thank you for the cool weather. Our next piece is actually known as The Green Forest. And Alex Gomez, who's a composer of Latin American music, classical and symphonic pop music. She's served as a composer in residence in many orchestras around the world, and she's performed music all over the place. Her music's played everywhere. It was commissioned, this piece, by the Junction Tuba Quartet, which is actually an all-women's quartet back in the day that some friends of mine played in 2001. And it's a journey through the forest between West and East Africa. And the composer says here, you will hear rustling of trees, insects singing, sounds of nightfall, and you're going to hear a really, really, really difficult low tuba solo by Phil Sinder. It's really hard. I'll try to get my horn out of the way so you can see him. That looked hard, didn't it? He was taking all the air from around my area. You stole the oxygen.
So the next piece is a representation of something that we often do in the tuba and euphonium world, and that's that we steal good music. So this piece was written by Thomas Morley 500 years ago, and it's a piece that is from his sacred motets. You may know Thomas Morley more for his secular works that are madrigals, but Thomas Morley wrote these 4 wonderful pieces for us. We stole them because we like to play pretty music, and this is definitely in that category. So the translations of these, if they're not in your program, is Agnus Dei is Lamb of God. Dominic Fac Mecum is Teach Me, Lord. By the way, my Latin is horrible, so please don't correct me. I'm used to everyone coming up afterwards and yelling at me because you didn't pronounce everything right, so I know. So, but the third movement is, Alas, they have taken the Lord. This is a prayer of Mary Magdalene after Jesus' crucifixion. And then the last movement, Nolo Mortem Peccatoris, is a prayer by Jesus saying that I don't want any sinners to die. So this is 4 motets by Thomas Morley.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me be the first to wish you the happiest month for a euphonium and tuba player, October 1st. I so much enjoyed our transition in the program from several complex and dissonant pieces to the Morley pieces, and I witnessed that on several of your faces as you were enjoying those pieces. And if you enjoyed those, I'd encourage you to find versions of them in the original setting for voices, as they're really astounding in that setting as well. We're going to now do something completely different, even though we just did that with the Morley, and we're going to open up the Emmanuel Lutheran dance floor for you for the next few pieces. It's right out in the narthex, and if you feel so inclined. But we have a set of 3 very distinct dance pieces to play for you next, and I know it will get your toes going and perhaps other body parts as well. And these 3 pieces, let's see, the first is from 1913. It's a tango from Brazil, written by Ernesto Nazareth, originally for the piano, and it's titled Fan Fan, which I believe means car horns. So this is a unique little tango from Brazil. We'll follow that with a trip to the islands and a calypso written by an American trumpet player named Adam Rappa, originally conceived for trumpet and jazz ensemble, and we're doing it in an arrangement by Ryan McGeorge of the United States Marine Band for Euphonium and Tuba Quartet. And we'll finish with another completely different dance in a swing style. This is a piece titled Mazel, meaning good luck. It's a Yiddish style tune written for Benny Goodman and his clarinet by Frank Beekman. So we hope you enjoy these 3 dances for tuba ensemble, tuba quartet.
Thank you very much. So now, I'll take you on a little bit of a historical trip of Tuba Bach and some other things, and also talk about the Marlis Myron Tanya Nelson Fund. So back even before Tuba Bach started, there was a program that my wife, Adriana, and I used to do. We'd go to elementary schools and libraries and things like that, and we had a program where we were promoting literacy and reading. Just read for fun, turn off the TV. Back then, there wasn't quite the cell phone thing going on, but still, turn all that off and grab a book and read a book. So we would travel around the state and around the Midwest and do that. How that ties in with Marlis Myron and Tanya Nelson is that fund was started originally by Gunder Myron in honor of his wife Marlis, an elementary educator. And then a couple of years later, after Marlis passed, Tanya Nelson was a student that was in a class before college, after some other stuff, but I was working as a parapro in the special education system here in Big Rapids, and Tanya was 14, I want to say, when I was doing that, 14, 15, and she graduated from there and went on to work for Hope Network and was in our community. She was so proud. I remember when she had a job at Arby's. She was super happy being at Arby's and always had a smile on her face and wiping down tables or sweeping the floor, whatever she had to do. And then later on, she was at the Ferris dining services and things like that. And then sadly, a few years ago, Tanya passed away. But so we have that fund in place to help us with to remember the importance of education and all that we do. These concerts on Saturdays and Sundays, of course, are great and much fun and all that, but without the educational component, we're not doing much. So we want to make sure that we are out doing outreach things in our schools and in our nursing homes and things of that sort. I know the first week we were here, we were at the Brook, and then we went and did a program at Ferris. The second week, we did a master class kind of a thing for middle school students. Last week, we were over at St. Peter's doing a program for those kids. But this past week, we were able to bring 50-ish clients from Hope Network, and they all got on buses, and they came right here to Emmanuel, and we did a concert for them. It was great for them to get out and do a special trip, and good for us to have a chance to do that for them, too. And so one of the things that we shared on the program, now we get back to Tuba Tales, and how that we did that was a book, a storybook. I have it right here. It's called Uno's Garden. You saw that in your program, too. It's by Graham Bass. And when Tuba Tales started, when Adriana and I put this together, it really was a thing. Our guys were pretty small then, and liked to read, and Adriana would read to them, and they knew that I played the tuba and all that, and she would do readings at the library, and she said, hey, wouldn't it be fun if while we were reading a book, you did like a soundtrack for it? And so we used to joke with the kids while we were doing it at the library, well, Dad'll play the music and hold the book and turn the pages and do everything else, and Mom just bounces around and reads the story like Mom does. But it was hard to see in the background and all that with this size of a book. And so we made this big book that we could take to various places and do things, which Adriana will now unveil. But it's the same thing. It's got all the same pictures, all the same everything, except for instead of this size, it's a that size kind of a book. Ooh. And it's a lot of fun. And it was great fun for the kids. We don't get to do these programs anymore. We used to have a great time doing it. This is wonderful news for Adriana because not too long ago she just passed her board exams and is now a full-time occupational therapist here in our community. And so serving all of you in a different way and still doing wonderful things. But the years of doing the Tuba Tales thing were a whole lot of fun, and so it's nice to be able to do kind of an encore performance of that. And so instead of my making up music that goes along, and Jeff's fixing you right now, so that's all good. So instead of my making up music at the very last second, honestly, so Thursday night, late, we all got together on Wednesday, talked about this a little bit, and Thursday night, in a hotel room, Gail put together music for the four of us to go along with the book. Got done at about 2 o'clock in the morning. We rehearsed it quick on Friday morning and did it for Hope Network then, and we did last night, and so now we're going to do it again today. But this is Uno's Garden by Graham Bass. You will enjoy Adriana very much, and the music by Gail Robertson. I'm going to put a microphone down low to get it out of your way, and we're off. So just remember back when you were a little kid. Some of you, it might be a longer remember back than others. But it was still a good time.
This is Uno's Garden by Graham Bass. Arrived arrived in the forest on a beautiful day at the very beginning of spring. There to welcome him were 10 magnificent moopaloops and 1 completely ordinary snortle pig. Uno loved the forest so much, he decided to live there. Uno climbed above the treetops. Oh, the forest seemed to go on forever. Swinging through the branches were 9 leaping lumpy bums and the completely ordinary snortle pig. Others followed Uno. They loved the forest too. They built houses and boats, watched by 8 feathered frinklepods. Oh, and the snortle pig, of course. And Uno began to work on a little garden. The fishermen's children came, and they played games among the trees. They counted 7 playful puddle butts, plus 1 snortle pig, and a little village grew. Some hunters came, and they went into the forest, looking for sneaky snagglebites. There were 6, but the hunters didn't find them or catch them, and they didn't catch the snortle pig either. Tourists came. They saw 5 timid tumbletops, but that was all. Uno kept working in his garden, and the village became a town. railway was built. Excited passengers watched for wild animals. They caught a glimpse of 4 grazing gondolas. And what was that other funny-looking creature back there? The town had become a city. A team of scientists arrived to study the animals. 3 flippered flipper flaps was all they found. The city grew bigger and bigger, and the forest grew smaller and smaller. Some workers came across 2 pointy pricklebacks. They had never seen anything like them. A lone fisherman set his line in the river. He caught a car tire and several old boots and a cold achoo! He didn't even see the snortle pig. In fact, no one had seen one for so long. People weren't even sure they existed. One gray morning, the people of the city woke up and they looked out over the endless buildings and were sad. Why do we live in a place like this? There are no trees. So they left. The city was dark and abandoned. Uno opened his door and looked out, and sitting there in the garden, among the plants that Uno had saved, was a snortle pig, completely ordinary in every way, except that it was there. The snortle pig lived in Uno's garden for many years. The city crumbled, forgotten. The snortle pig grew old and died, and so did Uno. But the garden lived on. Uno's children continued to care for the little collection of trees and plants, and slowly the forest returned. The children kept a diary of their discoveries, 2 pointy pricklebacks. But no snortle pig. 3 flipper flaps. no, Snortle Pig. Four grazing gondolopes. But no, Snortle Pig. Five timid tumbletops. There they are. But no Snortle Pig. Over the years, Uno's grandchildren added to the list 6 sneaky snagglebites. Seven playful puddle butts. But no Snortle Pig. Their grandchildren been added to the list too. 8 feathered Frinkle Pods. Lumpy Bums. But no Snortle Pig. Ten magnificent Moopaloops. And on a beautiful day, at the very beginning of spring, the forest and the city, they found themselves in perfect balance. Stories were told of the days when an extraordinary creature had lived in Uno's garden. The children listened with wide eyes, and they never stopped believing that one day they would see a real, live Snortle Pig for themselves. The end. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. That was fun. It was always fun to do back then, and it was fun to do once again now. So thanks for taking a journey back to childhood. And that book, by the way, I know there's a copy at the Big Rapids Library. It's a good book for kids and grandkids and all of that. And I don't know, you could probably see there was little writing up at the top, but it didn't get into the whole storytelling. But there's a whole thing with math and working with square numbers and square roots and things like that, and addition and subtraction, all that at the same time. It's a really cool book for kids to not only do reading, but also math and science and things like that. So one more piece before my final speech, before the final piece. So I guess there's 2 more pieces left, right? Because that's because I read the book with the math and stuff like that. That's how that works. So before I talk for a long time, I'll just talk for this very short time and tell you that this is Overtown Throwdown by Alejandro Gardia, who I believe is a tuba player, and he wrote this piece for the Big Boys Tuba Quartet. And it's a funk piece, and it's a whole lot of fun, and it keeps Phil's fingers busy, so we like to play it. So here it is. Thank you all so much for coming this afternoon. I hope that you've had as much fun as we've had. It is a good time to get together with these three wonderful colleagues and make some fun music and do all that. We always look forward to it, looking forward to next time, and it shall be a good thing. Again, want to thank sponsors and donors and all of that. That's a lot of you people. Take a look through the program or check out the website, or I think Jeff has it on the crawl that goes at the bottom of the screen. There's lots of sponsors. If they are people that you know, stop in and thank them for supporting the arts in our community. That's an important thing that they do. And if you don't know them, stop in and get to know them, because that's a good thing too. There's a list of lots of donors that are people like you. We appreciate all of your support. Couldn't do this without you. Again, we are 18 years into doing this without having to charge any ticket prices to come in and make sure that these concerts are open to all and everybody. And thank you so much for helping make that happen. If you would like to continue to make that happen, if you haven't done it yet, or you're brand new to all this or whatever, we can help with that. There are a couple old tubas by the doors on your way out. They take donations nicely. There's an address in the in the program where you could mail checks or things like that. We figured out how to, if you have stocks that you want to donate to Tuba Bach, we've got a way that we can make that happen, and in estate planning and all of that. But thank you for helping keep this going, and we look forward to many more years of it. Thanks to Adriana and Jane who got you in the door. A big thanks to Adriana for being part of the Tuba Tales book too. Yes. And the tech crew that makes all this happen, Jeff Gabalis, is over here at Command Central and makes sure that the live stream works okay. And Jeff Peddlety is right now sitting in the back row, but he runs around with a camera during the concert and beforehand is making sure everything works. Paul Hillman is in the back making sure cameras work, so thank you to you gentlemen. And Steve Masters is at the radio station making sure that things go well on that end. So we thank them as well. I think that is... I always leave off people I should thank. So just in general, thank each other and thank anybody that you see, because our world would be better if people said thank you more often. So there's that. A good place that you could practice that is over in Fellowship Hall afterwards. If you're watching live stream or anything like that, sorry. But we have snacks here. And one of the traditions that's always been around since year number one is Mom's cookies and snacks and whatever after the concert. This week, she visited the new owners of Van Brocklin's Bakery here in Big Rapids, and so we've got cider and donuts. There's lots of them over there, so please go and partake, and especially stop in at Van Brocklin sometime, get some more donuts, and tell them thanks for supporting Tuba Bach as well. So do that. Our last huge thank you is to these three wonderful musicians that are here. Over here, once again, Charles Guy, here from New York. Thank you, Chuck. Phil Sinder on the other big tuba. And Gail Robertson, always a pleasure to have her back as well. Thank you to Gail. And we have one final piece. This is Whirlwind by Kevin McKenzie, and it is exactly what the title sounds like. It's just a whole lot of notes and a whole lot of air moving around, and it's a lot of fun, and we want to thank you once again for coming today. There are 2 more weeks after this. There's next week, Noah Millet is back playing piano. Elena Kornieva is a young violinist from Uzbekistan, so we'll be doing some classical music, some traditional Uzbek music, and she's a jazz singer as well. And then the final week, Alvin Waddles and the wonderful ladies of Testimony Sings are back for a weekend of gospel music. So hope to see you for both Saturdays and Sundays of that. And right now, one final piece here for week number 4 and the Tuba Bach Quartet, Whirlwind.